is
Said it's
started.
on live. We're on live. You are looking live.
Do you see me at all?
I don't. I just see a big Talkin Tuscaloosa logo.
I know. That's weird. I don't know why. Present to everyone. I don't know what that is. How,
Whoops. You still there?
yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Okay. I was worried you were.
No, I don't know why it's not showing me.
I don't know why either. Is your camera on?
Yeah, my camera's on. My camera's on so hard. All right. Well, the broadcast is going, so I guess we better go. All right, you
People
ready?
are expecting us to deliver.
Yes, the 0 viewers we have at this moment are going to be sorely disappointed. Literally in the corner I'm sitting. All right, you ready?
Yeah. Or
All right.
should we tweet?
Yeah, can you tweet it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'll tweet is, hey, we are
Live on our
doing
YouTube
our podcast live on the Talkin Tuscaloosa YouTube page.
It says I'm presenting
Wow.
to everyone like I'm spread eagle, like here I am.
Holy moly, I'm so well. No wonder our ratings are through the roof.
All right, well, let's go. Here we go.
I just tweeted that. All right. I mean, there's not a link there, but the idea of me pulling off a link quickly on Twitter is 1,000,000 to 0.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Hey again, everybody, and welcome into Talking Tuscaloosa. Luke Robinson along with Jimmy Stein, as always. Jimmy, how are you today?
Tired.
Yeah, man, I'm tired too. It's yeesh. Got a lot going on, man.
I did 3 hearings and a deposition all by 3 o'clock today. So I'm wiped. I'm wiped.
Wiped. I got it. I prefer you wiped to unwiped. I will say that. God, I wish I'd said that out loud.
You're not the only one.
Okay, so we beat hell out of Tennessee yet again.
Shocking.
I know.
Wasn't it the most how hilarious? I mean, it's Tennessee. It's not UT Martin. It's Tennessee. And our beatdown of them, we could have scripted a week ago. I mean,
yeah.
It was scripted. It was like, it went exactly like every Alabama and Tennessee fan thought it would. Hell, it probably went exactly like every Alabama and Tennessee player thought it would. So that game to me was a microcosm of the entire 11-year series, the 11-year win streak. It was a microcosm of that 11 years. It was Alabama being ridiculously better than Tennessee, who has no chance, and Alabama just basically treats Tennessee like they're, 1970s Mississippi State.
There was practically no surprises.
Nope.
I mean, we covered, and I mean, the only surprise, I guess, would be Tua's interception. And you know what I found kind of funny about that? There's a great picture of the Golden kid shooting double barrel birds to the crowd. But people forget last year when Bo Scarborough broke loose on that 85-yarder, when he got to Tennessee's end zone and got to the fans, he stuck out his hand, in like a high five to a player, and you thought he was just going to go psych, but he did it. It was like he was shooting 5 birds on one hand. So it's not like we hadn't done that type of stuff. I was not nearly as offended by that, and in fact,
offended at all.
I wouldn't. In fact, I kind of think it's very symbolic of their whole program. That that's the first thing that guy thought of. He wasn't even the one who scored. Like when Bo did it, at least Bo's the one who scored. And if you remember, they had already scored on that side. And I think Scarborough later said something that Eddie Jackson had scored on that punt return on that side in that same corner of the end zone. And I think like some people said some things when he went down and celebrated and with Eddie and all that. I think some people said some things that sort of got under his skin, and he remembered that. And so when he got there, he made a gesture and he wishes he hadn't done it, yada, yada, yada. And this guy apologized too. So I hope people don't make too big a deal out of that. But back to the game itself. Um, Gosh, I don't really know what to say. I'll say this. Okay, stats aside, I think there is something gimpy with Jalen Hurts right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to diagnose it. I'm just saying he tripped up or fell to the ground 2 times this past weekend, where last year he makes a cut and gets 10 more yards.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm not saying no, wrong, or I haven't heard that, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't disbelieve that. I don't disbelieve it. I also think that there is a concerted effort on the part of the coaching staff and on the part of Jalen for Jalen to run a little less. So I don't know how much of this is Jalen being gimpy versus, concerted effort, for this way. But I don't disbelieve any assertion that Jalen might be a little gimped up. Maybe so.
So maybe in that regard, it's yeah. So maybe in this regard, these buttons on this thing are a little confusing. Like if it's red, it's happening. It's already got a microphone with the line through it, and I got to punch it to make it come up red. I wish they'd just have the microphone without the line through it, and then when I hit it, make the line go through it if you want to mute.
It makes no sense to have a microphone with a line through it. That makes it sound like makes it look as if the microphone's not on.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell.
Look like the microphone's not on, but yeah, we know the microphone's on. See, these things aren't idiot-proof enough for us.
I agree.
We need more idiot-proof. They need to turn the volume up on the idiot-proof, because it's hard enough for us to figure out how our phones work.
This is, you and I do this we do this once a week, and once a week we have to relearn it. It's like we have amnesia that lasts about 6 days and 23 hours.
I'm like Jerry Seinfeld's dad. I have a smartphone and I use it as a phone and a tip calculator.
Oh, by the way, my birthday was yesterday, and my wife got me
nice.
2 tickets to Seinfeld for my birthday in January.
Get out. Where's he? Where's he speaking at?
Get out. A nice Elaine reference there. He's speaking at the BJCC in January's.
Oh, fantastic. He is hilarious. I've seen him. I've seen him do stand up twice, and I thought he was hilarious both times. I loved it.
He's great. And by the way, if you're not watching Curb Your Enthusiasm right now, you are missing right the hell out.
I am missing. I'm missing right the hell out. I don't have HBO. I mean, heck, I don't even know how this damn podcast we've got is working. Much less how to get an HBO come on my television screen.
It is really awesome. And Bryan Cranston, usually when they have a celebrity come to the show, the celebrity is themselves. Like who's Ted Danson is just Ted Danson. Right. I mean, now he plays, he plays like Larry's friend, but he's Ted Danson. And then but Bryan Cranston was in this last episode as his psychiatrist or therapist. And
so he's not playing himself.
No, he's not playing himself, and it was great because I love Bryan Cranston. I mean, I just think Bryan Cranston's great.
Bryan Cranston actually played a role on the original Seinfeld.
He did. He was the dentist. Yeah,
he was the dentist on Seinfeld.
Yeah, and he became Jewish just for the jokes.
Jewish for the jokes. That's right. And then somebody, I guess it was Costanzo, was a raging anti-dentite.
Yeah, and they said, and this offends you as a Jewish person. No, it offends me as a comedian.
That was a good line. That was very. Some of those Seinfeld lines are very smart.
But if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, it is very. I love it. Oh, and what's funny? Okay, in this one, like at the beginning of this series of this season, Larry David had come up with an idea to do like some kind of, I don't even remember, some kind of Muslim play or musical, and it's really made a lot of Muslims mad, so they declared a fatwa on him, and so he's worried to death about that somebody's going to kill him at any moment, and he ends up meeting with Salman Rushdie to try and figure out, okay, how did you live through this? And Salman Rushdie was like, look, it's actually been kind of awesome. There's, women love you. You're going to have the best sex you've ever had. And it was Salman Rushdie actually talking to him and saying, you're going to have fatwa sex. It's the best sex you could possibly have. And then
that's so Seinfeld.
I know. And Larry ends up meeting with Elizabeth Banks, and and having a relationship with it. I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. It's so smart and so stupid at the same time, just like Seinfeld. You know, like the smartest things were so obviously stupid that it made them smart. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, to recognize each little nuance like that was just amazing. But anyway, okay.
When I watch Curb, and even though I don't have HBO, I've watched a lot of episodes of Curb, and I love it. I mean, I don't see how you can love Seinfeld and not love Curb. Not because it's a sequel to Seinfeld or it really has anything directly to do with Seinfeld, but it's the exact same humor because it's written by the same guy. And I mean, it's the exact same humor. And I don't see how you can be a fan of Seinfeld and not be a fan of Curb. To me, it's just the same stuff. It's like, I don't know, does somebody out there like Family Guy but doesn't like American Dad? It's the same. It's the same jokes.
It's the same show. It's the exact same show.
That's
okay,
exactly.
So let's go back to the game. Let's go back to the game for a second. Let me tell you
football.
American football. But anyway, you know what? I'm sorry. I got to break off again because when you said that, I don't know why it made me think. You know, I always harken back to something about the Simpsons. And do you remember the Simpsons where they tried to do Monday Night Soccer and Homer and all them were watching it and they had Hank Williams Jr. singing. He was like, "Are you ready for some soccer?" And
I never said that.
Oh my God. We got Lawrence, make it happen. That's got to come up there. And it's funny. And it talks about like the promo is finally we get to determine the most powerful country in the world, Turkey or Paraguay. You know, like anyway. Okay, so let's talk about this. Do you know the most amazing moment in that game was not the birds being shot? It was not our getting. Did we have to get 2 4th and goals, or was it just 1 4th and goal that he got?
I think it was 2. I think we converted 2.
Okay,
I think we converted 2 4th downs and
from
goals.
the one. Okay,
with our big.
The best play in that whole thing, without a doubt, was Tua Tagovailoa's pass to Henry Ruggs, and the fact that he threaded the needle to get it to Henry Ruggs just on a rope, and Ruggs was able to take it and score again for his 5th catch for 5 touchdowns to cover the spread was amazing.
It really is, and so many levels, not just covering. It showed off Tua, it showed off Ruggs. It's got that fascinating stat that goes with it. It shows the present as being something good and the future as being something gooder. It was just a fantastic little. I agree that it might be the most fun play of the game. Anyway, I don't know if it certainly didn't decide the game. The game had long been decided, but it was entertaining. It was entertaining to us Crimson folks.
There's so many times during the Saban era that at the end of a game when it's over and you know it's over, yet we still do something that's pretty incredible to cover a spread or just to humiliate the competition even further. That I laugh out loud. I will laugh about that play forever because it was so. Because even if you're a Tennessee fan, you're like, okay, let's hold them here and at least we cover. You know, we cover the spread. I mean, hey, let's silver lining.
They couldn't even do that.
And like, not only do they so like you said, not only do we cover, they realize, oh shit, they've got this. Even if we were to knock out their starting quarterback, they've got a guy who may be better throwing the ball. Yeah. And a true freshman who caught the pass to score the touchdown to cover. It reminded me last year of Bo Scarborough's run, even though that he didn't need that to cover. I just laughed because if you remember, the Tennessee defender pulled up lame right as he got to Bo. It was like he caught up to Bo and then goes, "Oh my God, this guy's twice as big as I thought." Like he reached for his. Or when Chandler Cox threw the ball on like 4th and 10 for Auburn last year, and Sean Deion Hamilton should have just batted it down, but he intercepted it just for the sheer hell of, okay, y'all are getting an interception for this dumbass play. There's so many times I just laugh and laugh and laugh, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Well, we've beaten them 11 years in a row, and one last thing to end the Tennessee streak talk is, look, we've now won 11 in a row, right? So next year, they're going to be in a coaching transition. They're not going to beat us in year 1. So that's 12 in a row. Then we come back to Tuscaloosa in a year that, Ruggs is a junior, Judy's a junior, Devontae Smith's a junior, Tua's a junior, Wills and Leatherwood are juniors. I mean, they're not going to beat us that year, not in Tuscaloosa. So that's 13 in a row. I think it'll be 13 before
They have a
we can
chance.
ever discuss that they might end the streak. Because they're not going to beat us the next 2 years. Next year will be a coaching transition year for them. The year after, Alabama's going to be absolutely loaded and playing at home. It'll have to be the second trip to Knoxville from now. So before, and I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying that's the next time they have perhaps a reasonable chance to end the streak.
I
It's not
agree.
going to happen in the next 2 years.
Our streak will literally be going through puberty when the next time they have a chance to beat us. There's some irony in there.
Much like Rashad Golden, who obviously is with his little 12-year-old taunts.
Yeah, they don't even taunt
stupid.
at an SEC level.
No, it was just dumb to me. I'm like, I wanted to say, hey, little fella, you upset about the scoreboard or something? I mean, is this a scoreboard thing? Are you what are you mad? Are you mad about the score? I mean, what the?
How many times? It does piss me off a little bit that, again, for the defensive mistake.
I don't even want to say F you back to him. Like you were saying, I laughed. I don't even want to say F you back to him. I just laughed like, ha ha. Idiot.
So stupid. But it does make me mad for the defense that we gave up the shutout, because they deserved the shutout. I mean, they played.
The offense gave up the points.
How many times has that happened in the Saban era? I mean, I just don't have the time to go back and look through all the.
I bet it's not the first time. Probably not the first time. Hey, what do you think? And again, these Jalen versus Tua arguments to me are sort of silly, and I don't even like participating in them because they both play for Alabama, and frankly, they're both helping us win these games right now by a lot of points. But what if Jalen had thrown that pick? What I'm saying is, I guess because Tua's the new guy, and we're all excited, and I guess the new guy has a honeymoon period. I'm not trying to be critical of Tua's pick six. I'm just saying, if Jalen had thrown that, this conversation would be different. We would be hearing different things this week had Jalen thrown that ball. But Tua threw it, and the reaction is, oh, well, he's young. That's going to happen, which is true. Yeah, that's true. But
Jimmy, if Jalen had thrown it, it would have been at a closer point in the game. It wouldn't have been at 28-0.
No, now it would have probably made the game 14-7. And people would have immediately gone to their message boards and do the "I told you Tua needs to be the quarterback."
Right.
But Tua doesn't get that treatment. He's on the honeymoon period.
So give Jalen credit for not doing that at a time.
Exactly.
He never does that. And when he does do it, like against Ole Miss last year, when they had the scoop and score on the sack fumble that should have been targeting, when it does happen, he brings the team right back. I mean, that's the only time I can think of that he did something like that.
A quarterback game managing his team to an easy victory is probably the most underappreciated achievement in American sports today. It's not acknowledged by the fans as something awesome, but in fact, it's pretty damn awesome. And I hate that term, game manager, used as an insult of some type. To me, it is just illogical and stupid. And what the hell do people expect? But Jalen has proven himself through his one-loss record and his lack of interceptions and lack of game-losing mistakes. Jalen has proven to be a fantastic game manager, and some fans say that with like, they're holding their nose like that's insult. Jalen, he's just a game manager. Oh, you mean the quarterback that wins all the games and doesn't screw it up? It's an unappreciated art in terms of managing the game and winning the game. He's fantastic at it. No different than Jay Barker was, who, by the way, turned into a bit of a playmaker his senior year. And nobody should be surprised when Jalen actually wins games by himself. In fact, he already has in many respects. He's had several games where he's rushed for 100 yards and thrown for over 200. If that's not
he had one
quarterback,
didn't he have one where he threw for 300 and rushed for 100?
Yeah, I mean, if that's not a quarterback going out and winning the game, I don't know what is. I guess people blow it off like, oh, that's just Mississippi State. Well, then how come everybody in the world doesn't do that against Mississippi State? I mean, it was an incredible performance.
I have no idea why my picture is not showing up, and it's just a talking Tuscaloosa emblem. I absolutely have no idea. I don't know. Not that
Russian
people
hackers.
necessarily want to see me. Russian hackers. That's my answer to
Hackers.
everything. I have two sayings now: Russian hackers and Saban will handle it. I have two say. That's all I do is say those two things over and over again. Okay, so
Wouldn't it be something if the Russians? What if the Russians hacked committee emails? And like Reese is on a show. Reese Davis is on a show on Tuesday nights unveiling the rankings, and he's like, "All right, in America, here we are, your top 4, and at number 4, Wofford." And we're all like looking at each other.
Number
going,
3,
Russians? Did the Russians?
Number 3, the Ukraine.
To Kiev, yeah. Kiev University Tech. No, I mean that would be
number 1.
They should have something fun.
They've been lighting it up.
Very explosive.
Oh God, two terrible idioms in
there
one.
We go.
Okay. Any other?
We're idioms.
Any other thing about the game you want to throw out there?
Not really. I mean, to me, like I said, it was just a microcosm. I mean, we're not going to remember anything. One thing I told the wife on the way to the game, Tuscaloosa, I'm like, I have an amazing recall. For me, an amazing recall of all the Tennessee games extending back to when I was a freshman in Alabama. And I remember how the 1989 game was Saran Stacy explodes, and the 1990 game was Philip Doyle making the field goals. And then there's the 2005 Roman Harper knocking the ball out of Arian Foster's hands and the ball bouncing through the end zone for the touchback. And then there's the Rocky Block game in 09 and the David Palmer 2-point conversion game in 93. And I can remember all these classic Alabama-Tennessee games that came down to a play. But the Saban streak, the now 11-year streak, other than the one instance of Terrence Cody having to block 2 kicks to win the game, other than that one instance, the other 10 games, you can't remember anything from them.
No, it's very difficult. I mean, they all blend in.
They blend together because it's just one 5-touchdown ass kicking after another, where the game was not in doubt after the middle of the first quarter. And while there have been big plays, Amari Cooper made a big play here, and somebody else made a big play there, and Julio Jones had a big game against Tennessee a couple times. But there's no classic Philip Doyle field goal game or Roman Harper knocking the ball out game, because they've just all been a series of ass kickings, and they all blend together for me. And I can't differentiate the 08 game from the 2011 game, from the 2014 game to the 2017 game. They all look alike.
All the close games have been both close games have been in Tuscaloosa, the Rocky Block and then Derrick Henry scoring late. And really,
that was true.
The Rocky Block shouldn't have even, I mean, everybody remembers it as like this really close game. What really happened was Alabama was in control the whole time, and then unbelievably, Mark Ingram fumbled. Mark Ingram fumbled there and then fumbled in the Auburn, the 2010 Iron Bowl. Those are like his 2 fumbles.
Only 2 fumbles in his whole career at Alabama. That's so true. And we were running out the clock to end the game up by a couple of scores, and then Ingram fumbles. And the only part of the game that was exciting it was a low-scoring, boring game, really. But the last 4 minutes became super exciting because of Ingram's fumble, and then they recovered an onside kick.
Yeah, that's it. And then anyway. Well, of course, Cody blocking the kick, but Amari Cooper, you're right, had a big game. I know Julio had like 220 yards against him or something, and I don't think he scored a touchdown that game. I think he had like 200-something yards without scoring. Is that right? Or did he score
really?
there? He had a shitload of receiving yards, and then Amari had 2 touchdowns against him as a freshman. I remember that. And A.J. McCarron underthrew him both times.
That's right. That's right.
And like one of them, he was so wide open, and the ball just took forever to get there. And I remember thinking, just get him the damn ball. I've been to a lot of these games in Knoxville too, and it's like a Walking Dead situation there. I mean, everybody just walks around and just zombified, and they're just because usually by the time, except for last year, I think they were number 9 when we played them last year. Maybe
they'd gotten off to a good start. Hey, Dobbs was a good player. Dobbs is even in the NFL. I know he's the backup 2nd or 3rd team guy, but I thought in the preseason games, Dobbs looked pretty good, and he looked good at the Senior Bowl. Dobbs is a good player. Tennessee had a decent team around him. Obviously, Alvin Kamara was a good player, and Hurd, but they weren't that awful last year. Had they not had all those injury situations, I think Tennessee wins the East last year. But they had a horrid injury situation, and even with the injury situation, they were still pretty competitive until we beat them
Yeah.
again.
And I mean that did take a little bit of the wind out of their sails. But who do you? Okay, we assume. I told somebody earlier today I did actually the Auburn Blitz with my crew here because they were like, well, Auburn's got an off week and we kind of want some off time, so I did the Auburn Blitz with the guy and we just talked SEC the whole time. But I put the over under at coaches at turnover at universities for Southeastern Conference schools at 3.5. You think it's over or under? I said under. I say under too. Like, okay, so Butch Jones, we feel like is gone, and you got to feel like Matt Luke's gone.
I don't know. I think.
Come on.
Well, what I'm saying is, let's see what the severity of the sanctions are. I think the severity of the sanctions could affect it.
Do you say severity or
severity? Meaning. Oh shit! I don't know.
But this is biopic all over. I say severity. You say severity.
I say severity.
That sounds like a city in Italy.
It possibly is. How do we know that it's not? Well, what I'm saying is, if Ole Miss is going to be out of the bowls for 3 years and lose 35 scholarships, whether they hire Matt Luke or
Luke Robinson
or Luke Robinson, it is not going to matter. They might say, you know what? Old Matt Luke wants to be the coach here, and he's a good fellow. Let's just
save a buck.
Let's at least drown with this lovable guy that we're just going to hold on to all the way to the bottom of the pool. I mean, why? I mean, so I'm saying if it's really bad, why make a change? It's not going to matter. But so that's what I'm saying. But if you're asking, is Ole Miss going to make a change? My answer to that is probably. I'm just saying it's a probably to me, not a definitely. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying probably, not definitely. I don't think Arkansas is going to make a change. I think they're going to hold on, but Bielema has to win next year. I mean, he has. He will go in on the hottest of seats next season. But if A&M finishes strong, I'm not sure they're firing someone.
No, I don't think they are firing someone. Especially if they beat Auburn, I think that's going to be the telltale. He's got to beat Auburn this year. And the other thing about Bielema, isn't technically every seat he's in hot? Probably. Okay. So and
you know who I think might be gone too, which is Jim McElwain. I'm saying that death threat thing to me has wheels coming off the bus written all over it. That's a wheels off the bus thing. And the thing that's if I'm Coach Mack's agent, I'm telling him, Bill Curry left Alabama to take the Kentucky job.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that was a great idea for Bill. Things worked out good for Alabama because Alabama was able to win bigger with the next guy. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Coach Mack do a leave Florida for a lesser job thing just to get the heat in the kitchen is just too uncomfortable for his personality. And frankly, he doesn't deserve what he's getting over there. And I think it would be kind of one of those amicable divorces where Florida fans are like, oh, thank God he's gone. And McElwain's like, oh, thank God I'm gone.
Yeah.
And he goes and improves the hell out of the next job because he'll do well in most jobs, I think. And then Florida could be happy and go on their coaching search because Florida thinks coaching searches end with Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, and they forget that their coaching searches sometimes end with, Ron Zook or Will Muschamp. But, fans love to fire up the plane.
No, I'm totally with you. And I think the next guy at Florida will have some growing pains because Florida's recruiting hadn't been great. I mean, they've been okay.
No.
He's more of a diamond in the rough Tommy Tuberville kind of recruiter than he is a get a bunch of 5-stars guy. So, I think that the next guy's going to have a little bit of a time. But Jim McElwain is certainly one to keep an eye on. And there was, oh my gosh, who was the other one?
That Barry Odom. Maybe
Barry Odom. That's who I was thinking of.
It's not fair to fire someone after a year or two, but who in the world thinks Barry Odom is going to rescue this situation at Missouri? I mean, to me, I would just have a lack of confidence in they have a mess and it needs to be cleaned up. So who's going to clean it up? And I don't think it's that guy. I think they need to make a change. And I'm the guy who thinks too many coaches are fired and too many fans overreact. But Missouri, I would agree with the sentiment that it's a mess. It needs to be cleaned up, and I would have no confidence that that's the guy to clean it up.
Yep, I would not feel good about it if Missouri's future or Barry. But you might be the same thing with Ole Miss. Like, hey, what the hell else are we going to do? You know, I mean, you're on a stranded island with a couple of threes, and you're like, hey, I don't have a 10 available to choose from, so I got to do what I can do. I guess I don't know. Is that the best analogy?
Yeah. What's up with Pinkel's health? Do we know that?
You want to get Pinkel back?
Well, I mean, they were winning. They were winning when he was there. I mean, he took them to Atlanta twice.
Yeah, but look, not everybody is. I mean, I'm assuming Bill Snyder is some kind of vampire. There's no other way that I mean, he looks 1,000, and he's been coaching for 900 of those years. And he retired, and they brought him back. Like, I'm thinking, how does that happen? They're not getting Pinkel back.
Yeah, maybe not. I just didn't know what his health was like and how old he was. I don't even know, but probably not. But I don't know the Missouri situation well enough to know who they would hire or who the hot name is out there that's connected to Missouri. But you know what? I just thought of when you said about how old Bill Snyder is. I wonder if he's the real life. You think he's like Edward on Twilight?
Oh, he could be.
What was that guy's name? Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, he's Edward on Twilight. I mean, because he's literally 300 years old and does not never dies and continues to be a quality coach / vampire.
Fun fact: he recruited Charlemagne to be a quarterback. Did you know that?
I did not. I didn't know that. I just know Bela Lugosi was a hell of a kicker.
Okay, so we think that about the SEC this week, and last week wasn't a great college football weekend. I mean, I enjoy every college football weekend, but last weekend kind of sucked, especially compared to the weekend before. And I think this weekend,
no upsets, and the two big games were blowouts. I mean, no big upsets, and then there were two really big games everybody's looking forward to. But Penn State sort of easily dispatches Michigan, and Notre Dame destroys USC. So it was sort of a boring weekend. Obviously, there may be some good finishes, but not in the big games. But this upcoming weekend, I tried to count up, and I butchered the count. But see, in my mind, Luke, there's 16 teams in the playoff field. And by 16 teams, what I mean is there are 16 Power 5 teams with 0 or 1 loss. Every Power 5 team with 2 losses is out. And I'm not counting any Group of 5 team in the playoff picture, because I do not believe that Central Florida or South Florida, even undefeated, gets in the playoff unless 2 loss teams start becoming necessary to get in the playoff. So what I'm saying is there's 16 teams. Of those 16 teams that comprise today's playoff field, something like 10 or 12 are playing losable football games. Not games they'll certain to lose, but losable. Like, somebody's playing Iowa State and is
TCU playing Iowa State this weekend? Is that
something like that? Maybe Oklahoma. No, Oklahoma's already lost to them. Like maybe TCU must be. Obviously Penn State and Ohio State, one of those two is going to lose. NC State and Notre Dame are both in that field of 16.
Georgia, Florida.
Lose. Georgia's playing a losable game, sure.
How much hell would Kirby Smart take if he lost to Florida this year?
Miami's playing Georgia Tech.
They played them last week.
Oh shit, that's right. Who's Miami? Miami plays somebody they can lose to again.
Is it
maybe
North Carolina?
Maybe they play North Carolina. So it's not Miami.
But they play Notre Dame soon.
They do. I'm just saying there's a bunch of losable games. There are, and I can't remember what they are. People are just going to have to trust me on this.
Take my word for it.
Take my word for it. They're playing a bunch of losable games. I think so, because football.
Hey, Jimmy. And when people make fun of you for stuff like that, say, hey, you're the dumbass that's listening to my podcast.
That's right.
You think I'm stupid?
I remember when I was a kid, somebody telling me, I can't remember, your friends are always ripping on you or whatever. I guess I was like 12, and I had this like 15 or 16-year-old friend. He's like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, going to the zoo. We're going to New Orleans. He's like, well, what are you going to do in New Orleans? I was like, we're going to the zoo. And he's like, you're going to be seen with your parents at the zoo? And my comeback to that was, yeah, but isn't the person that sees me there and making fun of me for being at the zoo with my parents also at the zoo? I mean, what?
It's a very. You remember in Pulp Fiction when Samuel L. Jackson, like they had to clean all the brains off the suit, and he just washed them down, and then they had to go put on another shirt, and Quentin Tarantino said, "Hey, you look like a couple of jackasses," and he said, "Ha ha, it's your shirt, mofo."
That's right.
Yeah.
That was right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying to people that like, man, this expert can't even remember who's playing who this weekend. I'm like, well, you're listening to this show.
You're the moron trying to learn something from me, and I'm a moron.
Right. Yeah, we're sitting here quoting Curb Your Enthusiasm that I don't watch.
That is true. You quote shows you don't watch.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Good.
And as a matter of fact, I watched Last Week Tonight the other night, and who's the host of that? The British
John
guy.
Oliver.
John Oliver, yeah,
he's hilarious.
He's pretty liberal, okay, but I mean, I can still laugh.
It's funny.
It's funny stuff, and he did a thing about who's the guy that does like he goes back and traces, not ancestry.com, but like he's some guy on 60 Minutes that shows you your ancestors and what they did to try and give you some perspective. And apparently like they did it with Larry David, and Larry was like, don't tell me you're going to show me that some of my ancestors owned slaves. Don't do it. Don't you do it. And like he said, turn the page. And like he turned the page, and you could clearly see some of Larry David's ancestors owned slaves. And he was like, oh, you did it. You and like he laughed about it, but it's kind of funny. And like John Oliver comes back from the highlight and he goes, it's pretty bad. It is funny.
That is funny.
Anywho, all right. Any predictions for the off week or recruiting? Yeah, let's do recruiting. I thought we were going to get a commitment today.
I think we're close. We're probably close to getting a commitment from that. I think that kid's going to flip soon. The Michigan kid.
The jumbled named kid.
One of those Michigan kids. Emil Ejiofor.
I loved him in Winnie the Pooh. I don't know how to
say. Yeah, I think he's going to be flipping soon. I tell you, I think we're going to get both of those Joseph kids, Nadab Joseph and Kelvin Joseph.
Ooh.
I think we're going to get I think we're going to get both Josephs. I think we're going to get Savion Smith, the corner that's at Mississippi Gulf Coast.
How about Patrick Surtain?
No, I say no.
Okay, you think he's going to LSU still?
I go LSU with him. I think we got a better shot at Tyson Campbell.
I would love Tyson Campbell. We need some DBs.
How did those two kids, they're the best cornerbacks in America, they play on the same damn high school team? How does that happen?
Ridiculous. Let me ask this.
So I think we're on the verge of some good flips, maybe even Emory Jones, although I don't think that would happen too soon.
Well, everybody's going crazy because that JUCO tight end just decommitted from Texas.
Oh, yeah, he's probably going to Alabama.
How do we have room for all these people? Jimmy, we need a bunch of defensive backs and defensive linemen. I mean, like, usually I am very much let Saban handle it, but I'm beginning to wonder, what the hell?
Sometimes there comes a time in every part of the year in recruiting class, I wonder if Nick has forgotten about the 25-man limit. I worry about that every year. I'm like, wait a minute, Nick still knows we can just sign 25, right?
He's like me when I went grocery shopping when I was at Alabama and I had my debit card, or not my debit, my ATM or my credit card, and I was like, oh shit, I bought $300 worth of stuff and I have $100 limit on this thing. I got to go put some shit back. I bet that's what Saban's like. He's like, I got to go put some of these kids back.
Yeah.
Maybe just leave them at the register and like, can you put these
back? I'm worse. I'm like an 8-year-old at the grocery store. If I go to the grocery store starving to death, I'm coming back with a cart full of shit I'm never going to eat.
Oh, there's no question.
I'll never eat them all. If I'm starving at the grocery store, watch out. Now, if I go to the grocery store and I'm like full and I'm not hungry, I come back and the wife's like, I thought you were going to Publix. I'm like, I did. She's like, where's the food? I'm like, I wasn't hungry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Who goes to the grocery store not hungry? You always go to the grocery store.
I can't plan ahead like that. Let
me tell you this. So remember we had that big ice storm like 3 or 4 years ago? And I was sort of stranded here at my house, which, in Ellick City, and I'm kind of on a hill and my car couldn't go anywhere and there was ice everywhere. And I was like, damn, I didn't prepare for this because I didn't have any water or I had water out of my tap, but I didn't have any food. And I was like, well, let me just check my refrigerator. I had 9 jars of salsa. Like every time I go to the store, I'm like, I need some salsa. And like I come back with it, and I didn't know this, but like 5 of the jars actually had mold in them. Like it'll mold in the refrigerator. And And I was like, I wasn't a bachelor at the time. I wasn't married, but I was dating Krista at the time. But I was like, I've been living the bachelor lifestyle I had a thing of baking powder from like 7 years ago that's supposed to help keep shit fresh, in your refrigerator. And then
Yeah.
9 jars of salsa, and that's it.
What
like
are the
no
odds?
chips.
And certainly the no chip, 9 jars of salsa, no chips.
Yeah.
And what are the odds that you drunkenly ate out of the moldy salsa jar without realizing because you were drunk and
If
that
you
it was
take
moldy?
out the word drunkenly and drunk, you're dead on. Just did it.
I just did it. You were hungry.
Yeah.
Fair.
Shit.
Well, you were stranded in a natural disaster.
As they say, any port in a storm,
I think you're talking about something else, although salsa is a good word for that too.
Salsa is a good word for that too. All right, Jimmy, any other thing to wrap it up?
We win the bye week. The coaches are working hard on recruiting, so I wouldn't be surprised if we picked up a couple commitments this week because the focus is more on recruiting than preparing for LSU right now. So looking for a couple commitments, and we'll come back next week. And hey, I know this isn't vintage LSU, but it's always a big game.
Yeah, and they're getting their feet under them. Although I wouldn't take a lot into their beating the hell out of Ole Miss because everybody beats the hell out of Ole Miss. Vandy scored 35 on them, so I mean,
we'll see what Geist does against us. It's a heck of a challenge. I know Alabama people blow that off, and they're like, Fournette couldn't do nothing against us. Nobody rushes for 100 yards. And I'm not saying Geist will. I'm just saying that regardless of what he does against Alabama, Darius Geist is one hell of a football player.
Hell, he's about to lead. He's already about leading the conference in rushing. He has barely played.
He is fantastic, and I look forward. Of course, I'm an Alabama fan. Of course, I want Alabama to win. Of course, I wish goodwill on any of our opponents or rivals, but we're all football fans too, and I enjoy watching that kid play. He's great. He's great, and I want to see Darius Geist carry the ball against Alabama, and it's a heck of a chance. If we hold him to less than, I know Fournette only had 30 yards, and that's a heck of a bar. That's a heck of an expectation to put on our defense. But if we hold Geist to under 100 yards, that's an incredible achievement. It's an incredible achievement, period.
I'm right there with you. And let me tell you this about Geist, too. One thing this may not be true, but I think Geist cares more about college football than Leonard Fournette did. And therefore, I think he runs harder. Fournette ran really hard in spurts. And when he did, he was maybe the best running back since, at least since McFadden, probably.
I think probably early in Fournette's sophomore year, people got to Fournette and said, you do realize that if you turn pro, if the draft was tomorrow, even though you're in September of your sophomore year, you would be like the 5th or 6th pick in the draft. So right. I think I'm not saying he mentally checked out or physically checked out because he had a really good sophomore year period until he got to the Alabama game. I'm just saying that I think Fournette was sort of protected and coddled for the NFL because it was so obvious he was going to be a top pick and then do well once he got there. And kudos to Fournette. He has been great.
Oh, he's been he's leading the league in touchdowns, right?
I think that's right. Didn't even play last week. So Fournette's been great. He is a great player, but I'm with you, Luke. I think as a college football running back, Geis is the superior player. I do think Fournette will likely have the better, longer NFL career. But with backs, it's all about health.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, all right. So roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide. Thanks for listening to Talkin' Curb Your Enthusiasm. Jimmy and Luke.
Jimmy and Luke. You know what? We'll put Larry David's face up instead of this Talkin' Tuscaloosa emblem next time for me.
He's a handsome man.
Boy, you got some weird taste, bro. All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
Talk to you. Bye.
See you. Bye.